I'm trying to think of a clever line for this, but you just can't make this stuff up. 2076. How far away is that? 55 years. The FDA wants 55 years to process Freedom of Information Act requests about COVID-19 vaccines. They're being asked, can we have all of the information to show how you made the decision to approve, to determine whether these were safe, effective, where's all that information? Share it with us. We want to see how this decision was made. And they said, you know what? It's going to be 500 pages a month for 55 years, right? 500 pages a month. Think how many big books are 500 pages. Okay, that's 6,000 pages a year, and that's 330,000 pages after 55 years approximately. Okay, that's not a small amount of paperwork. And that is the amount of paperwork that was needed in order to make this decision. If you look at one of the trials of the Pfizer vaccine, which is about 34 pages or so, and that's how Pfizer determined that it was safe and effective, right? After looking at this trial, they said it was 95% effective. And that was a trial of 40,000 people, 20,000 control, 20,000 vaccination group. And it was 7 or 9 people in the control group had a positive PCR test. So not really any severe cases in this one. Fact checkers, correct me if I'm wrong. And then there was 160 plus in the non-vaccinated, the control group that had a positive PCR test. And they said, okay, so they took 7 or whatever and divided it by 160, and that gave them their 95% efficacy. And that was a relative risk reduction. But when you actually look at the absolute risk reduction, which was, taking 7 divided by 20,000 and 160-ish divided by 20,000, and then you take those two numbers to determine your risk, and it turned out to be a fraction of a percentage. So that's how much you were reducing the risk, right? And that was one study. That was one trial that was put out, and it was 30 pages. Now, each of these companies did not do 330,000 pages worth of, studies. So what is all of this? What is all of this paperwork? How is it? What's happening with it? Where is it all coming from? And the real question that I have is, if it required that much that much paperwork to make the decision, it required that much. How did the FDA do it so quickly? How did they process all of that information and make sense of it? And how did all these doctors and experts sit at a table and organize it so that it made sense, so that they could make this decision that it's safe and we need to roll it out to the entire nation? We need to roll in the world, because a lot of people use the FDA. So, guys, this isn't a small decision, right? This isn't hey, so can I get information on why you chose this car over that car? What's the information on why you bought this house over that house, or over a condo, or chose this neighborhood or that neighborhood, or why did you go to Mexico instead of Costa Rica? These are all things that people can answer, right? These are decisions, how people spend their money, and they can answer it, right? Because they had some subjective or objective reasons to answer why. But when you're in the position where you're trying to determine, the health of a nation, the health of all of your citizens within society, that is something that you might want to be able to answer very well. And so someone asks for information. Well, why did you approve of it? Why did you decide to put all of these people into an experiment, which is now being pushed onto children? Why did you choose to approve of this, to authorize this? Give me the information. And they say, oh, well, there's a lot of information. It's going to take us 500 pages per month. We only have 10 employees, and there's been 400 Freedom of Information Act requests. So we just can't process it quick enough and get it out to you in time. So give us until the year 2076. Give us until the year 2076. I'd like you to look up right now how long it took them to process the authorization and the approval of this experiment. I'd like you to look up how long that took. Because is it even possible to read that many pages? Even if you had 10 doctors sitting around reading it and trying to share that information together and make sure that everyone is on the same page? so that they can make the correct decision so as not to hurt people. That'd be kind of an important thing to have, right? It's very important to make sure everyone's on the same page. So how did people even make this decision with that much paperwork? That's what I want to know. It's pretty crazy to me. And we have to think about, so 91 pages were released. Okay, the FDA released the first 91 pages to Aaron Siri, or he downloaded them, sorry. And he tweeted this. The FDA produces the first 91 pages of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine documents. It reveals that Pfizer, after just 2.5 months of vaccine use, received 25,957 reports of nervous system disorders. Only 54 years, 11 months to go for the remaining pages. And that's not even all of the pages for the first month, right? So there's still another 400 plus pages to go. So how are things looking at that point? If that's the first 91 pages and we don't really know how this decision was made, and it seems like the decision was rushed, but it was rushed over this much information, do you feel safe about that? Try to make sense of it. Make it make sense to me. Write it down in the comments. I'm sure there's something I'm not missing. They don't have enough employees to simply they only have 10 employees to put out these Freedom of Information Act requests. So they don't have enough employees to get that out in a timely manner, but they have enough employees to make sense of all of these documents, to look at it, to organize it, to discern what is valuable, what is not valuable, to share it with each other so that they can make a decision to put the entire country mandated into an experiment. Make it make sense to me, please. Put it in the comments. I want to know. And in all fairness, before we sign off, gotta say, if it's going to take until 2076, 55 years to get all this information out, then it is only reasonable to say, hey, I need 55 years to make an informed decision. I can't have informed consent without having all of the information. Is that unreasonable? I think that makes perfect logical sense, right? Unless you just want me to trust the science, as in religiously, like faith, like just believe in the science without actually seeing the science. Trust the science, but we're not going to give you the scientific evidence, the data that gave us our conclusion until 55 years, 2076. You know? Remember when you were in math class and you handed in a math, your test to your teacher, and your teacher said, hey, you didn't show me any of your work. You just put the answer. Well, that's what they're doing to us right now. I couldn't get away with it in grade school, and now someone's getting away with it on the entire world.